Your thoughts and fears are an illusion. Surrender to a new truth.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. If you're new here, hi, my name is Sarah, and kind of sorry you had to meet me under these circumstances, but here we go. If you guys haven't guessed by the awkward way that I actually look, this tutorial is based on the American Horror Story cult Beehive tutorial that's been going around. I'm a little bit late to the game, but I wanted to actually include this into my Halloween series, which is 31 Days of Halloween. I'm going to be starting off with a styrofoam head. You can use a Krylon head if you have one, or perhaps a regular mannequin head. But I got this one for like $3 at Value Village, and just be sure whatever you're using has a hole in the bottom so you can stick it onto a post, which just makes it a lot easier in the long run. Also, here I'm going to be building this prosthetic up from a bald cap. So I'm also putting the bald cap onto my mannequin head, or the styrofoam head. The black line around the head is where I've mapped out the placement of where I'm wanting things to be set down. For the prosthetic itself, I'm going to be using air-dried clay I got from the dollar store, and using these three was actually perfect for the amount for me personally. I'm just rolling this bad boy out until I've got a decently wide and thin-ish pile of clay, and it would probably be preferred to use an actual rolling pin, but this is what I had. Once you've got it rolled out to your desired thickness or thinness, it's time to put it on top of your head, just like a crappy little hat. I'm putting certain parts down to make it in line with my already drawn outline and cutting off the excess with an X-Acto knife. If you are wanting to use an X-Acto knife, be very careful of yourself obviously, but also of the styrofoam head or whatever head you're using and the bald cap. Once I've got that set down to the level that I wanted at, I'm blending the edges. Although this doesn't matter too much, seeing as how we're going to be adding more anyways with the rest of the clay. This is going to make up for the so-called edges of our scalp, as what I think the original picture was going for, but who knows. Smoothing out these edges are way more important because that's going to be the part that actually lets it blend in better to your skin. And for the honeycomb effect, I'm literally just using a piece of thick paper, almost like poster board, that I've cut into the shape of a piece of honeycomb. And then I super glued it to the end of a hot glue stick. Literally, that's it. Then repeatedly pressing that into the clay. And this is going to be time consuming, so just feel free to put on a movie. Perhaps one of the 15 I've recommended. I'll leave it down more below. One thing you want to be sure of to do is that once you've done your first row of honeycomb and starting with the next row, etc., each new row you put down, be sure to put the next one between the two below it, if that makes sense. You can just see what I'm doing right now anyways. And now it's time for the paint job. I first put down some dark brown into the honeycomb holes, but quickly regretted that, so I stopped and continued on with a yellow, because I felt that although the clay is yellow, it's a little bit too neon for this particular look, so I wanted it to be more bright but less neon, if that makes any sense. Also using a sponge to dab it over. Dab, 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 with a yellow wash. Then a brush with a mixture of about half yellow and half of the brown to go into the little area was between the edge of the scalp and the actual honeycomb itself. Then I blended that with the same disposable sponge I used at the beginning. I took a little break to eat some pie, of course, because always gotta eat. And then continuing on with that same brown, just alone this time, and filling in some of the honeycomb holes to actually make them look deeper and give the overall prosthetic more depth and texture. Change up the camera angles a few times so it'd be easier for you guys to actually see what's going on. And then I used a custom mixture of a little bit of purple, a little bit of pink, and a little bit of white for the edge skin color. If you maybe went a little bit overboard with the brown near the base, acrylics are very forgiving in that way with color. They will just go right over top of it, so just be sure to blend it out. So for the makeup and application, you're going to want to start off with covering your brows up. And if you have longer-ish hair, aka not a pre-balded scalp, you're also going to want to put your hair up and into a wig cap. Once you find yourself looking fierce and super cute, time to add the masterpiece and secure it down with some adhesive of your choice. I chose spirit gum, but you can totally use PROSTHETIC or liquid latex or anything like that. Just make sure you have the proper remover. And to help the edges blend in better and secure it down even more, I'm adding some liquid latex around the edge, aka the seam. Again with a disposable sponge only, or a Q-tip, but never with something you actually care about. Once it is all set and dry, I'm going to be using a translucent powder to take away any tackiness that it may have, and then getting into the paint job, of course, onto my face and my neck. The entire basis of this is just white, specifically in my case, Ben Nye's Cloud White water-activated paints. Taking out my piercings was just something I almost always forget to actually do until absolutely too late. And continuing on. For my eyes, though, I'm using the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in Milk as my eyeshadow base and blending it out with my finger. I literally can't get over how actually completely awkward and weird I look during this. For my crease, I'm actually using a contour shade by Makeup Geek called Scandal. And my lid color, I'm going to be using a setting powder that's pretty close to my actual skin tone and just packing that on with a dense packing brush and slightly blending it and using that same fluffy brush that I used before in the crease. Coming back in with a translucent powder to help blend the edges better into my skin. For my lipstick, I'm going to be using an eyeliner or eyebrow brush in Lime Crime's Red Velvet, which is honestly the most perfect red I've ever actually used. And I'm going to be using it first for the markings around my eyes, which all clowns apparently have. And then applying that to my lips as well and carrying it out, basically overlining the top into a creepy little mouth and the corners. As for the last touches, I'm actually going to be mixing together into a small bowl some hair gel and yellow food coloring to give the appearance of honey. If you're not touching this to your skin at all, you can totally use clear acrylic paint, like a gloss, if you're wanting it to last, but do keep in mind acrylic paints in any form is not okay to be on your skin. However, if you're using it to place into the small makeshift honeycomb holes, then you're fine. But if you're going to be planning on dripping this even slightly down your face, I would recommend using this method instead. Or, again, going with the SFX gelatin. Going back with the spirit gum, though, I'm going to be using these little bees I have from my Queen Bee tutorial, which I'll link down below if you haven't seen it, or if you want to purchase these, the link to them will be in that video's description. I'm also going to be using some super glue, not to, and I repeat, not to use on my actual face, but strictly to glue the bees onto the clay prosthetic and finishing it off with remembering to paint my ears with that same white. And lastly, I'm going to be carrying it all the way down my neck.
Oh, Beehive. Why did the bee get married? Because he found his honey. What do you call a wasp? A wannabe. What's a bee's favorite novel? The Great Gatsby. Oh, had to ruin the illusion for that one. What kind of bee is a sore loser? A crybaby. Why did the bee go to the barber shop? To get a buzz cut. Now that all those jokes are done, that is it for today's tutorial, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye, guys!